All right, this lesson is about writing an equation for a circle when given the graph. And sometimes they don't give you a graph, they expect you to create one. In this first problem, it says, find an equation for the circle with endpoints on the diameter of this. So if I drew a quick sketch of that graph, it's a good idea of how to begin. I would go from -1 to 1, that's a point. The other point is 7, 9. So I'm just going to say this is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 9. And let's just say this is 9. This is 7, 9. So some circle with endpoints here, and this is the endpoints of its diameter are here. So if you knew, if this is the circle, it looks something like this, I suppose. It'd be really great to know the midpoint. If I knew the midpoint, I knew the center of that line. It's the midpoint. The only way you can find that is use the midpoint formula. And the midpoint formula is this. It is the sum of the x's and the sum of the y's over 2. So that's the midpoint. So these coordinates are here. This point right here was -1, 1, and this was 7, 9. So basically it means add up the x's. This would be x1, this would be y1, this would be x2, this would be y2. So you add up the x's as in -1 plus 7 and divide that by 2. And you add up the y's as in 1 plus 9 divided by 2. So that's 6 over 2 and 10 over 2. So that's 3, 5. That's the point that's halfway between both of those points. It's still on that line. So that coordinate is 3, 5. So that point I know for sure is 3, 5, and that point is my center. So I know what my center is. The last thing I need is my radius. And there's two ways you can think about this. I like to think about it visually. And if I think about it visually, I'll think about how far I need to go over and up to make a right triangle to find this length, which is my radius. So if I'm currently at 3 over, and this is at 7 over, well, the distance from here to here is 4. So the length there is 4. And then I think about how high I went up. This is 5 above, and this is 9 above. So that length is 4 as well. So both of those lengths appear to be 4. So if that's true, I know I can find my hypotenuse using the Pythagorean theorem, and that would be the radius of the circle. So my hypotenuse should be a squared plus b squared equals a c squared. And I'm going to explain this a different way if you don't like this method. But it will wind up being 4 squared plus 4 squared equals a c squared. So this 32 equals a c squared. So c is the square root of 32. Or even better, because both of those are 4 and 4, I know this is the square root of 16 times 2, which is 4 square root of 2. So that length is 4 square root of 2. You might recognize this is a right isosceles triangle, so that would have to be 4 square root of 2, because that's what 45, 45, 90 that's what the relationship are. So that's one way I can find my center and my radius. I know my radius is 4 square root of 2, and I know my center is 3, 5. So if I wrote the equation for a circle should be x subtract h squared, then y subtract k squared equals a radius squared. So it should be x subtract 3 squared plus y subtract 5 squared equals to 4 square root of 2 squared. And our final answer would be x subtract 3 squared plus y subtract 5 squared. And if you remember, this is going to be 32. You plug into the calculator, or you just multiply that together twice. 4 square root of 2 times 4 square root of 2, you get 32. So that's my equation for that circle. And if I want to know my center and radius, we just actually find the equation for the circle. So that's it. So that's one way of doing it. I'll mention another way of doing it though. So here's another way. All right, so another way of considering the same problem is this. Instead of just graphing it, you could just use the algebra of it. If you know those are endpoints of the diameter, you need the center, which is the midpoint. So you'll still go by using the midpoint formula to find the center, and that's still x1 plus x2, and then y1 plus y2. Now if you find the center, you should find the center for that after you plug the numbers in again, I think we already found it to be 3, 5. So from there, you can use the formula, x subtract h squared plus y subtract k squared equals the radius squared. And since you know the center is really hk, you can replace the h and k's with 3 and 5. You do x subtract 3 squared, y subtract 5 squared equals to the unknown radius squared. And you got 2 points to choose from. You can choose either one of these points and finish the problem. You can use this one or that one. I'm going to just use this one. So we're plugging in this to be x and y. And when I plug it in, I can replace this x with 7, subtract 3 squared, and that y with 9, subtract 5 squared. Because the only variable left is now the radius. So the math here is going to be 4 squared plus 4 squared. So once again, you get 32 equals the radius squared. So the radius would be the square root of 32, or exactly 4 square root of 2. So if we want to write the equation, we now know that it would be this line. So it's going to be that. I'm going to rewrite it over here. That equation would be x subtract 3 squared plus y subtract 5 squared equals to the radius squared. And actually, since we already know the radius squared, I'm going to call it 32. And now I've written an equation for the circle without actually graphing it, just using the algebra. Understand what the algebra means in the problem. All right, that's all I got on that problem. I got a different one now. All right, so this time we have a picture. So let's find the equation for the circle. And all they gave was this information. There's 2 ways I can go about finding it. And one way is just strictly using the algebra. Again, just so you know, I could make a right triangle that might be useful in finding it. I'm not really sure though. If I drew this right triangle here, I probably need to know what that point was. So I don't think that would be enough information. So you have to use the algebra to finish this problem. So if that's true, you can write the equation to be x subtract h squared plus y subtract k squared equals to r squared. Since I told you the center was -1, -2, I can call this x plus 1 squared, and then y plus 2 squared equals to the unknown radius squared. And just like in my last problem, they gave me a point on the circle, so I can use that to be xy. So that's going to be 1 plus 1 squared, and then -4 plus 2 squared equals radius squared. So from there, that will wind up being 2 squared, which is 4. And this is also 2 squared, this is also 4, equals radius squared. So 8 equals the radius squared. So the square root of 8 equals to the radius. For that matter, square root of 8 is 2 radical 2. So if I know my center, and I know my radius, I can begin writing the problem. So using from this line, because it's already got the center plugged in, x plus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals to, you know what, since it says radius squared, instead of squaring that, I can just use what I knew about radius squared. And that would be 8. So the equation for that circle would be that. All right, do one last one. All right, so this is a kind of an extension. So looking at this, it says write equation for circles R and S if they intersect at point P. So circle R means the center is at R. If the circles intersect, they're going to intersect at a point on the circle. I mean, that's the radius, right? So I know there's a circle that looks like this. And P has another circle has a radius here. That circle looks something like that. But truth be told, I don't really need that. If I notice my center, using the formula, I can write the formula for circle R and S and replace H, K, X, and Y into each one of these equations and find that length. That's one way of doing it. Or you can use the geometric way, as in use the Pythagorean theorem here, and find that length. You can figure out how long this section is, how long that section is, and use the Pythagorean theorem to find that radius. And you can draw a shape here, and you can use Pythagorean theorem to find that radius. I don't know which one is easiest for you. I just like to understand it both ways, visually and algebraically. But I'm going to use the formula altogether. So I know that X is 2, Y is 3, H is 5, K is 7. So that equation is now this. After I place X, Y, H, and K, this becomes -3 squared plus -4 squared is the radius squared, which is 25 equals the radius squared. So R is 5. And for that matter, since radius squared is 25, I can write the equation now as X subtract 5 squared plus Y subtract 7 squared equals to R squared, 25. You do the same thing for circle S. Anyway, that's all I have. Good luck.